Today I want to speak to the chosen ones, the ones who feel different, the ones who feel pulled, the ones who know deep inside that their life has a purpose far greater than anything they've seen so far. Because today's message is simple. The first message to the chosen ones is this: before you ever fight a battle in the world, you must recognize the battle happening in your own house, in your own atmosphere, and inside your own spirit. Something is hiding where you live, where you think, where you breathe, where you dream, and it wants you to know that its presence is shaping your life more than you realize. Many people look outside for enemies, setbacks, and obstacles, but the chosen ones understand that the most dangerous attacks begin quietly, silently, and invisibly. The enemy does not begin his destruction with noise, he begins with whispers. He does not knock on the door with force, he slips in through distraction, temptation, fear, laziness, and tolerating what drains your spirit. What hides in your house may not be a creature or shadow. It can be a habit you've ignored, a thought you've excused, a memory you've refused to heal, or a voice you've allowed to influence your beliefs. It can be something physical you keep around, even though it carries heaviness. It can be a relationship that constantly weakens you. It can be an environment that steals your focus, a routine that kills your momentum, or a comfort that becomes a cage. The hidden things are rarely loud, and that is why they are dangerous. They shape your direction without you even noticing. The chosen ones feel spiritual weight before anyone else. They sense when the atmosphere is wrong. They can walk into a room and feel tension even when everything looks normal. They feel heaviness even when nothing bad has happened. They feel drained even when they have done nothing all day. This sensitivity is not weakness, it is a sign of calling. If you feel the invisible battle, it means you were created to overcome it. You are not being attacked because you are weak. You are being attacked because you are marked. But here is the truth no one wants to say. What hides in your house only survives through permission. The things that steal your peace survive because you let them remain. The things that slow your progress survive because you learn to live with them. The things that weaken your spirit survive because you've accepted them as normal. And once something becomes normal, you stop fighting it. The enemy knows this. That is why he hides, not attacks. Because if you don't see the threat, you won't resist it. The first keynote is a call to awareness. It is the moment when the chosen one realizes that the house must be examined, not with fear, but with authority. You must look honestly at what you've tolerated. You must look clearly at what you've allowed into your heart, your mind, your home, your daily habits. Because what hides in your house reflects what hides in your spirit. And what hides in your spirit determines the quality of your life. But the moment you bring the hidden thing into the light, everything changes. Darkness cannot survive exposure. Confusion cannot survive clarity. Chaos cannot survive discipline. Fear cannot survive truth, and weakness cannot survive a determined spirit. The chosen ones are not strong because life is easy. They are strong because they dare to confront what others avoid. When you decide to remove what drains you, heaven moves with you. This is simple yet powerful. If you want your life to shift, your environment must shift first. If you want your destiny to open, the atmosphere around you must be cleaned. Your house, your inner and outer space must reflect the calling God placed on you. And once you confront what hides in your house, you unlock the strength that has been waiting inside you all along. You are chosen, and chosen people do not live in darkness. They expose it, defeat it, and rise above it. The second keynote for the chosen ones is this. Before God elevates you, He exposes what is weakening you, because you cannot rise while carrying what was never meant to follow you into your next season. Something is hiding in your house, not to terrify you, but to warn you. And the warning is simple. You are being drained by what you have become comfortable with. The danger is not always the loud storm outside. The danger is often the quiet compromise inside your own space. The enemy understands that if he cannot stop the calling on your life, he will attempt to slow the pace of your journey by placing small weights on your spirit, weights that you mistake for normal life. These hidden weights show up in ways you don't even notice. The conversations that leave you empty, the habits that rob you of discipline, the distractions that steal your hours, the emotional clutter that sits in the background of your mind every day. The enemy does not need to break your spirit if he can exhaust you slowly. He does not need to defeat you if he can drain you. He does not need to stop stop you if he can delay you long enough for you to doubt yourself. This is why he hides in subtle places. Things you scroll through, people you listen to, thoughts you entertain, and routines you allow to shape your days. Chosen ones often wonder why they feel tired even after resting, why they feel uninspired even after praying, why they feel stuck even though they know their purpose. The reason is not always spiritual attack. Sometimes it is spiritual buildup. Your house, your inner and outer atmosphere collects everything you do not clean. Your mind collects every negative word. Your heart collects every disappointment. Your habits collect every moment of procrastination. And without noticing, you begin to live with heaviness that was not meant to be part of your identity. The hidden things remain hidden because you learn to ignore them. A toxic voice becomes familiar. A heavy memory becomes normal. A draining environment becomes tolerable. A destructive pattern becomes routine. What you tolerate begins to live inside your house like an uninvited guest. And the longer it stays, the more comfortable it becomes. The problem is not that something is hiding. The problem is that you stop searching for what's out of place. But here is the truth for the chosen ones. God does not expose what is hidden to shame you. He exposes it to free you. He exposes the habit to rebuild your discipline. He exposes the fear to strengthen your courage. He exposes the relationship to restore your peace. He exposes the toxic environment to elevate your spirit. You are not meant to live in emotional clutter. You are not meant to walk through life carrying old wounds, old fears, old habits, and old voices. You are meant to rise with clarity, strength, and purpose. When you finally confront what has been quietly holding you back, a shift happens. Your energy returns. Your focus sharpens. Your heart becomes light. Your vision opens. Your spirit wakes up. Suddenly the confusion lifts. Suddenly the heaviness breaks. Suddenly the path ahead becomes clear. This is the power of removing what hides inside your house. It frees the destiny inside your soul. The of this keynote is direct and transforming. You cannot enter your next level with the weight of your last one. You cannot receive what God prepared for you if your hands are still full of what hurts you. The hidden things in your house are not there to defeat you. They are there to be discovered, confronted, and removed. Because once they are gone, nothing will stand between you and the future designed for you. You are chosen, and chosen ones do not carry darkness. They clear it, confront it, and rise above it. The third keynote for the chosen ones is this: the atmosphere around you is never neutral. It is either feeding your spirit or draining it, lifting you higher or pulling you down, strengthening your faith or weakening your courage. And the truth is simple: something is hiding in your house, influencing your thoughts, shaping your mood, determining your energy, and affecting your destiny in ways you have not fully understood. The greatest battles in life do not begin outside, they begin in the atmosphere you live in. If your environment is heavy, your spirit becomes heavy. If your environment is chaotic, your thoughts become scattered. If your environment is spiritually polluted, your faith becomes fragile. Everything around you affects everything within you. Chosen ones have a unique sensitivity that others do not understand. They walk into their home and feel when something is off. They wake up and sense that something is trying to pull them down. They sit alone and feel invisible pressure, distraction, or fogginess. This sensitivity is not stress, it is discernment. God wired you to feel the shifts that others ignore. But the danger is this: when you are spiritually sensitive, you can be spiritually attacked through the atmosphere more easily if you are not protecting your environment. That is why something hides in your house. Your house is the gateway to your mind, your heart, and your inner world. What hides in your house can be anything that changes the atmosphere without you consciously noticing it. It may be negativity that lingers after conversations. It may be resentment stored in a corner of your heart. It may be music or content you consume that subtly disturbs your spirit. It may be items or reminders from a painful past. It may be emotional clutter you push aside instead of cleaning. It may even be silence that isn't peaceful. Silence that feels heavy because something unaddressed is sitting in the atmosphere. Many chosen ones feel spiritually blocked, not because they lack faith, but because their environment is speaking louder than their prayers. You cannot pray for peace while allowing things that produce anxiety to stay inside your house. You cannot pray for clarity while living in an atmosphere of noise, distraction, or emotional mess. You cannot pray for strength while surrounding yourself with influences that weaken your spirit. God is not ignoring your prayers. Your atmosphere is ignoring your spirit. The enemy knows this, and that is why he hides in the air around you. If he can cloud your mind, he can confuse your choices. If he can weaken your spirit, he can delay your destiny. If he can disturb your peace, he can steal your focus. The enemy does not always hit you head on. Sometimes he simply sits in your atmosphere until you become too tired to fight. But the moment the chosen one realizes that the atmosphere must change, everything changes. When you spiritually clean your house through prayer, through removing what disturbs your peace, through realigning your habits, through setting boundaries, through rejecting negative influences, the atmosphere shifts instantly. Light enters, peace returns, strength rises, focus sharpens. Suddenly the heaviness that felt normal disappears. Suddenly you feel like yourself again. Suddenly your calling becomes loud and clear. The atmosphere that once fought against you becomes the atmosphere that empowers you. The of this keynote is unmistakably clear. The atmosphere you allow becomes the atmosphere you become. If you want elevation, you must create an environment that supports elevation. If you want clarity, you must remove what creates confusion. If you want spiritual strength, you must eliminate what weakens your spirit. Something may be hiding in your house, but it is not stronger than the authority inside you. Chosen ones do not adapt to darkness. They transform their atmosphere, reclaim their space, and rise with power that cannot be hidden or denied. The fourth keynote for the chosen ones is this. Every hidden influence in your house has one primary goal: to silence the voice within you. Not the outer voice you use to speak to others, but the inner voice that guides, warns, strengthens, and directs your destiny. The enemy understands that if he can silence your inner voice, he can disconnect you from your purpose. If he can distract you long enough, he can delay your growth. If he can fill your house with noise, confusion, or emotional clutter, he can keep you from hearing what God is trying to reveal. This is why something is hiding in your house. It wants to interfere with the voice that carries your calling. The inner voice of the chosen one is powerful. It is the voice that whispers courage in moments of fear. It is the voice that tells you to stand when everything in you wants to collapse. It is the voice that calls you higher when your circumstances pull you lower. It is the voice that reminds you of your identity when the world tries to define you by your struggles. But this voice becomes faint when you live in an environment that overwhelms your spirit. If your house is filled with distractions, the inner voice becomes drowned. If your atmosphere is filled with negativity, that voice becomes clouded. If your routines are filled with chaos, that voice becomes distant. People often think the enemy attacks through disasters, but one of his strongest strategies is simply to overwhelm your inner world until you can no longer hear yourself think. He places things in your house, mentally, spiritually, emotionally, and sometimes physically, that make your inner voice shaky. It could be a lingering regret that keeps replaying in your mind. It could be a fear you never confronted. It could be a memory that still holds power. It could be a person whose words echo louder than truth. It could be a pattern you repeat that numbs your instincts. Chosen ones begin to lose clarity, not because they lack wisdom, but because the inner voice becomes buried under spiritual noise. You might feel confused, but you are not confused. You are simply surrounded by too much interference. You might feel lost, but you are not lost. You just cannot hear the direction clearly. You might feel disconnected from your purpose, but your purpose is still there. It is your atmosphere that has covered it. The message of this keynote is not about fear, it is about awareness. You must understand that your inner voice is the most important guide in your journey, and it must be protected. When something hides in your house, it hides in silence, hoping you will never notice that your inner world has become muted. But the moment you realize what is happening, everything shifts. Awareness brings clarity. Clarity brings authority. Authority brings freedom. When you decide to cleanse your environment, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, you will feel your inner voice returning with strength. The fog lifts, the confusion fades, the heaviness dissolves. Suddenly you begin to hear again clarity about your purpose, direction for your decisions, wisdom for your relationships, and courage for your next steps. That inner voice is not merely intuition, it is the compass of your calling. Of this keynote is powerful. If your inner voice is silent, your destiny becomes silent. But when your inner voice rises, your whole life rises with it. Something may be hiding in your house, trying to mute the voice that carries your greatness, but you are not powerless. The moment you confront what has been interfering with your spirit, the true voice within you awakens. And once the chosen one hears clearly again, nothing in this world or the next can stand in the way of their calling. The fifth keynote for the chosen ones is this: what hides in your house is not always an enemy. It can also be an unfulfilled version of yourself waiting to be awakened. Sometimes the greatest thing hiding in your home is not darkness, distraction, or spiritual heaviness. Sometimes it is your own potential, quietly suffocating under years of fear, doubt, or neglect. You may think the enemy is attacking you from the outside, but often the real battle is happening inside, where the strongest, most powerful part of you has been pushed into a corner. The unspoken truth is that many chosen ones live below their calling, not because they are weak, but because they have forgotten who they truly are. Inside your house, behind the habits, beneath the noise, under the layers of routine, there is a voice that has been trying to speak to you. It is the voice of your forgotten strength. It is the voice of your suppressed dreams. It is the voice of your spiritual identity. It is the voice of the person you were before fear reshaped you, before pain quieted you, before disappointment discouraged you, before life convinced you to shrink. That version of you, the courageous, focused, passionate, purposeful version, did not disappear. It simply became hidden. The enemy knows that if you ever rediscover that version of yourself, everything in your life would shift instantly. He knows that the moment you reconnect with your inner strength, fear loses its power. The moment you remember your purpose, distractions lose their control. The moment you awaken your potential, darkness loses its influence. This is why he tries to hide your true self behind stress, behind overthinking, behind emotional exhaustion, behind responsibilities that drain your energy, behind people who keep you small, not to destroy you outright, but to keep you asleep long enough that you forget what you carry. Many chosen ones feel lost, not because they are off track, but because their true self has been buried under too much noise. You may feel unmotivated, but it is not laziness, it is buried passion. You may feel directionless, but it is not confusion, it is hidden clarity waiting to be uncovered. You may feel weak, but it is not weakness. It is strength that has been overshadowed by unresolved battles. The real you is still inside your house, waiting to emerge, waiting to breathe, waiting to lead your life again. The most dangerous thing hiding in your home is not an attack. It is the possibility you have ignored, the purpose you postponed, the dream you silenced, the calling you doubted. Every time you say one day, that version of you steps 1 foot further into the shadows. Every time you choose comfort over growth, potential retreats deeper. Every time you lower your standards, your true self becomes quieter. But even if it is quiet, it is not gone. It is waiting, watching, pushing, longing to come alive again. The moment you confront the layers burying your identity, everything begins to shift. When you start clearing mental and emotional clutter, your real voice returns. When you challenge your excuses, your real strength reappears. When you break away from who the world tried to make you, you reconnect with who God designed you to be. And when that happens, you stop surviving and start living. Of this keynote is this: the greatest discovery you will ever make is not what hides in the shadows, but what hides within you. Your true self is not missing, it is waiting for permission to rise again. And once the chosen one inside you awakens, no enemy, no fear, no darkness, and no hidden influence will ever be able to stop the destiny that God placed in your soul. The sixth keynote for the chosen ones is this: every hidden force in your house is connected to a cycle in your life that keeps repeating because it has never been confronted. There are patterns that follow you year after year, season after season, relationship after relationship, patterns that drain your energy, silence your confidence, and sabotage your progress. These patterns are not random. They are rooted in something you keep allowing into your environment, something you keep tolerating in your mind, or something you keep carrying in your heart. And the truth is simple but difficult to face. Cycles continue when the cause remains hidden. Something is hiding in your house, not necessarily a dark presence, but a cycle you've grown used to. It may be a cycle of procrastination, a cycle of emotional numbness, a cycle of fear every time you get close to opportunity, a cycle of losing yourself for others, or a cycle of giving up right before breakthrough. Every cycle has a voice, and when you listen to it long enough, it becomes part of your identity. You begin to believe, this is how I am, not realizing it is not who you are. It is simply what you have lived with for too long. The enemy loves cycles because they require no new attack. He doesn't have to defeat you again if the old pattern is already doing the job. He doesn't have to take your strength if a cycle is already draining it. He doesn't have to close your doors if a cycle of self-doubt makes you close them yourself. Cycles are spiritual traps disguised as familiar routines. They feel normal because you have experienced them for years, but they are not normal. They are assignments meant to keep you from evolving into the person you are called to be. Chosen ones often feel like they are running in circles, not because they lack direction, but because something hidden in their house keeps pulling them back into the same emotional or spiritual loop. Maybe someone in your life triggers the same wounds repeatedly. Maybe an environment makes you fall into the same behaviors. Maybe a memory keeps you tied to the same insecurities. Maybe a habit keeps you trapped in the same comfort zone. The house of your spirit is holding a cycle that must be broken before you can rise. Cycles survive through repetition, but they break through awareness. The moment you recognize a pattern, you disarm it. The moment you identify what triggers it, you weaken it. The moment you refuse to repeat it, you begin to transform. Breaking cycles is not about fighting darkness. It is about choosing differently. It is about understanding that you cannot build a new life with old behaviors. You cannot enter a new season with old wounds. You cannot rise to a higher level while dragging a lower pattern with you. The sixth keynote calls the chosen one to courage. You must look at the thing that keeps pulling you backward. You must face the habit you keep excusing. You must question the story you keep telling yourself. You must confront the cycle that has shaped your life for too long. Because the moment you decide to stop repeating, heaven begins to realign everything for your breakthrough. The atmosphere shifts, your spirit strengthens, your clarity returns, and the cycle that once controlled you loses its grip. It is both challenging and empowering. Nothing changes until you confront the cycle that has been hiding in your house. But once you confront it, you break years of spiritual momentum that worked against you. You break generational patterns. You break emotional prisons. You break the limits that held you down. And when the cycle breaks, the chosen one finally steps into a life that is not repeated, but renewed. The seventh keynote for the chosen ones is this. When you clean your house, mentally, spiritually, emotionally, and physically, you do not just remove darkness, you make space for destiny. Something has been hiding in your house, not only to distract you or weaken you, but also to prevent you from seeing the future that is waiting for you. Many people pray for clarity while living in confusion. They pray for strength while holding on to weakness. They pray for elevation while carrying things that belong to a lower level. But clarity cannot live where clutter lives. Purpose cannot breathe where chaos rules. And destiny cannot grow in a house that has no room for it. Every chosen one reaches a point where they feel blocked, stuck, or slowed down without fully understanding why. You might be working hard, praying deeply, pushing forward, yet still feeling distant from what you know you were made for. This is not a lack of calling. It is simply that something in your atmosphere is keeping you from hearing the call clearly. You may be surrounded by people who speak doubt into your dreams. You may be holding on to responsibilities that God never assigned to you. You may be living in routines that keep you spiritually asleep. You may even be carrying emotions from years ago that still take up space in your heart. Whatever it is, it hides quietly, hoping you never realize how much it is costing you. But the truth of this keynote is profound. Once you clean your house, your calling becomes visible. When you remove the noise, the signal becomes clearer. When you remove the heaviness, your spirit rises naturally. When you release what drains you, strength flows into you freely. Many chosen ones are not lacking the path. They are simply unable to see it because something in their inner environment is blocking the view. God often reveals direction only after you remove distraction. He opens the door only after you close the ones that lead nowhere. He shows the next step only after you stop holding on to what no longer fits your life. Cleaning your house is not only about letting go of negative things, it is also about creating space for who you are becoming. The old version of you cannot lead the life that waits ahead. The fearful version cannot walk into bold purpose. The wounded version cannot lead with clarity. The tired version cannot carry spiritual authority. The cluttered version cannot recognize opportunity. When you clean your house, you are not just removing, you are renewing. You are giving your soul permission to grow. You are stepping out of the past and welcoming the future. The unspoken truth is that your environment, both internal and external, either nurtures your destiny or suffocates it. If you fill your house with distractions, you weaken your calling. If you allow chaos, you block clarity. If you hold on to the unnecessary, you lose the essential. But once you begin to remove everything that does not support your next level, something remarkable happens. The atmosphere shifts from heavy to light. Your thoughts shift from confused to focused. Your spirit shifts from tired to awakened. And suddenly what once felt impossible becomes achievable. What once felt blocked becomes open. What once felt far becomes near. The of this keynote is powerful and true. Cleaning your house is not just preparation, it is transformation. When you remove what does not belong, you make space for what destiny has been waiting to give you. The calling you carry is too big for a cluttered atmosphere. The purpose inside you is too powerful to live in a crowded spirit. Something may be hiding in your house, but once you remove it, your calling rises with a clarity, a strength, and a fire that cannot be stopped. Because when a chosen one cleans their house, heaven fills it.